Shalom Akim, Kahalan Imna Yahabashim Yashabashim Hakudash, and double on Instagrams and apostles. Thoughty Hasha for the strength and all to make this video. And Yaratazar, they find it edifying and exhorting too. But this one's from the doctor called John Campbell. He's a British doctor. Often really reveals information based on really dealing with the 2020, 2021, 2022, the demic, of whom, as as you can see through the title, it says Japan proves excess deaths, for those who took the juice. Gotta use cold words here or else in a few months' time or even like a few days' time, YouTube just takes down the video if you mention certain things. So point being is that all that data is being revealed. It was being revealed, but now the more slightly long-term data is being revealed, which really a year's worth of data isn't long-term, but in Esau's eyes. But nevertheless, it's still a longer span than what was exposed on these other platforms. When you type up the V word, and then other doctors around the world have exposed what's actually inside of those juice vessels, shots. So yeah, man. I'm not gonna play it, but I'm gonna forward to the parts that are key and then do a little bit of reading there. And then you have to just get some precepts. It shouldn't be too long of a video. I say that, but we'll see. But it shouldn't be too long. Yeah, because I know he mentions the word several times, so I can't just play it and then do all that. So it says Japanese excess deaths. So this is like a article that he got, or some actually no, they call it studies, done by a Japanese doctor, and his team. So it says Dr. Yasufumi Murakami, Japanese, senior fellow molecular oncology and pharmacology. So for simplicity, a scientist who deals with those fields. So Japanese excess deaths after CV juices. Now again, cold words. It says Research Center for RNA Science. Let's play a bit more. Hold on. I put low the volume because I know when he mentions it, it will be flagged up on YouTube. But as it says here, the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. Let me see that again. The more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. And of course, if you remember, those videos that are talking about the actual contents within the juice, that's what actually caused, the blood clots and really more inflammation in the body. Which inflammation is just the body trying to fight against either foreign objects or it's pretty much just the body trying to get back to a balanced state, homeostasis. So the body gets inflamed, you may feel a little bit sick, and after that, when the inflammation goes down, then you're more in a balanced state. But going to the point, it says the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die, and that's because if each one that's received, it's like a cumulative effect, which means it builds up gradually. One dose, and the second one, and the third. I remember the UK were having it hot here, man. They're like, okay, make sure you get your next one. Make sure you get your next one. Make sure you get your next one. Receiving NHS, National Health Service text messages saying you gotta get this, you gotta get that, which is all just psychological pressure, trying to make people's hearts beat just on a text message. Which that was a test of faith. How much more pressure would come when the actual MOTB, mark of the beast, actually happens, man. So anyways, it says the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. It says the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter period. Let me forward it as well. Let's see. It says among the people who received the juice, death peak emerged especially between 90 to 120 days post getting the first dose. So 90 days, that's about 3 months. Let's say making the assumption of 30 days in a month. That's just an assumption. 30 times 3, you get 90, and then 120 days, about 4 months. So 3 to 4 months, the likelihood of death increases, man, especially with all those foreign objects and what do they call that parasite looking thing? I think they call it Hydra as well. Foreign organisms as well, man, placed into the body. You start questioning why people are acting weird. This is why they're acting weird. This is definitely a good possibility of why they're acting weird, man, because this is something that would affect the brain as well. But nevertheless, let me get this precept here. Considering I'm in Revelation, I might as well get this. So Revelation 6 and verse 4, that's the key part. So Revelation 6 and 4, and there went out another horse that was red. That's talking about Esau. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Of course, the great sword is his weaponry, the blessings of the earth, as Isaac gave him, back in Genesis. But the point is that, this sword can come in different forms as well, not just a physical sword, such as, the gun, and weaponry like weapons of mass destruction, of course, nuclear missiles, projectiles, all of that, military power. But it can also come as a biological sword as well, something that targets the body. A psychological sword, something that targets the mind, such as what Esau puts on the TV, in order to push his agendas, subconscious programming. That's psychological. But on the biological point, this needle of his that he uses in order to put certain doses in people, that's a weapon in itself. And people have no idea how that actually affects the body. But of course, from the video that's been released from that time of 2021 up till now, this increases the likelihood of death. And I'm gonna link that video as well, just in case brothers or sisters want to watch that. So I'm gonna put that in the description. So yeah, the point is that great sword also comes in the format of biological weapons as well, not just the typical gun and military might. All right, let's see what's up here. All right, let's see. Right, so it says a significant peak forms at 3 or 4 months, which is again equivalent to 90 to 120 days. So it says here, let's see. Yeah, that's really the point there. Let's see that peak. So it's probably due to the juice's influence, with adverse reactions occurring, leading to death. And yeah, part of it is inflammation. When the body is inflamed, it's in a sick state because it's trying to fight. For example, if I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say if you had an injury, typically there'll be a rush of white blood cells, and then that rush of white blood cells near that area becomes more inflamed. Of course, Esau is more prominent because you can see all the blood cells gathering up there. Of course, more specifically the white blood cells. So it says, we found that as a number of doses increases, the peak of deaths appears faster. Now let's get to the graph that he mentioned there. Yeah, so the top one are the ones who got the juice. The bottom one are the ones that didn't get the juice, man. So all of this is, it's all getting exposed out here, man. Obviously YouTube, there's restrictions on it, but you will find the doctors that will expose that stuff. But if you want to get into the nitty gritty, you gotta go on other platforms like BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, to actually find the details of I guess the causation and also the effects of this juice as well. And when I say cause, it's like probably certain parts of the juice. But anyways, that's just getting into technicalities here. Let me get this precept as well. That's why we gotta move with wisdom, man. So Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 11. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and the babbler is no better. Thing is, let's get that in the NLT as well for clarity. So it says, if a snake bites you before you charm it, what's the use of being a snake charmer? You see, you can liken that as onto, let's say, if you're given the knowledge, to prevent a certain situation. If you're given the wisdom so you can prevent a certain situation, and then the point is the situation still happens nevertheless, despite you given the opportunity to avoid it, what then was the point of you acquiring the knowledge? It's like a lack of application of knowledge, which really wisdom is the application of knowledge. So, it's a similar case right here. As it says in KJV, surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better, man. So, of course, if you know a serpent's potential, of course, we know Esau, Edom is likened to that serpent in the garden, which he was, back in Genesis 3. Infiltrating Eve's mind with that philosophy. But not to get into the details, the point that, as it says, sure, the serpent will bite without enchantment, and the babbler, which is known as the snake charmer, is no better, man. So it's like, what's the point of the snake charmer being there if you can't charm the darn snake? So yeah, the point also really is, if you got the knowledge, you gotta apply it, man. You know about this stuff, and I remember during that time as well. There was information on the testing kits. There was information on the actual juices, mRNA. This was different to the older ones, which were like protein based. Nevertheless, man, Esau's a very cunning individual. That's why scriptures talk about never trust thine enemy. Hold on, before I get that. All right, let me just get that one quickly. And get Ecclesiasticus 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed, be aware. As it says here, it says, beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away. So you're gonna realize that, oh damn, this guy don't change. Esau still got that wickedness within him. Yes, he does. And with all this data that's being released right now, which is exposing him, that just shows the horns that are being revealed. All right, let's see what's up here. So that's the ones who took the juice, in the red. And the ones who didn't take the juice, they didn't have a peak in the likelihood of death, man. So they were fine. Because again, do your own research on these other platforms. Just type up the V word or VFX. Of course, I don't want to say it, but VFX on something like BitChute, or search up on Odyssey or Rumble, man. And you'll see some stuff there. All these doctors and what do they call it? I was gonna say my microscopist or something. The guys who use the microscopes to examine these what's in the doses. But yeah, I forgot the name for it. But the point is that after you know about that stuff, there's a reason why Yahweh Shimon Shai is revealing this knowledge onto us, man, to show that we can't trust our enemy, man. That's just the point. This is just one of the many reasons why you can't trust them. Again, this is based on the Japanese data. He wrote 18 million. In the actual video, that's the population of people of whom were of whom this data was based upon. 18 million people in Japan. You just can't trust your enemy. That's the point. Right. As the scriptures say, if it were possible, they will deceive the very elect. Alright, so this is Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false Hamashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So the point is that with Esau's knowledge, he would try to deceive people, and people will fall for it. That's why a lot of people felt that pressure to take it, and then they folded, man, because they didn't have her Hakodash to give them a strong enough will to reject Esau's proposition of taking those doses. Which again, as I said in the beginning, the more doses taken, the more it builds up in the body. In fact, I think there was even a comment that was mentioned. Let me see if I can get it. And sometimes, even the guys in the comment section, they be reasoning. Let's see. Maybe I scroll too far down. Hold on. Let me see if it's at the top. It should be somewhere around there. Nah, but yeah, of course, many people did lose their jobs though. So again, another test of faith. But brothers who did lose their jobs, they got another one as well. The brothers have their personal testimonies during that time. So again, test of faith, man. Test of faith. Alright, let's see. There was a specific one. I'm trying to remember it. Get something to trigger my mind. As soon as I see it, I know I'll recognize it. If I don't find it, I'ma just end the video there, man. But yeah, the point is, you gotta be aware of this stuff, man. You gotta be aware that just because during that time, like at that moment, nothing would happen, it doesn't mean nothing's gonna happen 1 year later, 2 years later. I think I might even name the video the Venom takes time to take effect. Something like that. But whatever, her Hakodash puts in my mind to name it, I'm gonna name this video. Not sure if I even said the name in the beginning. But just thinking of ideas. Let's see. Yeah, man, I think. Hold on. Yeah, there's many ignorant ones, man. There's a lot of ignorant ones. Alright, let me check. Is it this one? Oh yeah, Yara Tazar. I'm gonna link the second video as well on the increased chances of getting cancer too. So that could be another effect. There's a lot of information out here, man. There's a lot of information, like even just thinking about what was exposed, like from the Hydra, to the nano stuff. Of course, got to use coal there. Which of course aided in the blood clots as well. That's what caused it. There's one more thing as well I was gonna mention. What else was it, man? But yeah, there's a lot of things. Those are just the two things that are at the forefront of my mind. That's containing these vials. VIALS. Hold on. And then in the UK as well, the guy mentioned that UK is hiding the data, and the question is why are they hiding the data? Because of course there's evils behind it. See, 120 days, about 4 months, 240. course, it's double, so that's about 8 months, and then 360. You know, of course, it's over 8 months. Can't be bothered to calculate that, but yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna just link it. Yeah, to Zah, that you know you're exhorted and you're made aware of this information. That this is also another reason why certain individuals, you may think that's a natural death, but it's not a natural death. Certain people, it be because of the doses that they've been taking. The dose that they took probably last year or 2023, 2022 could have affected them right now. You know, so some died earlier than others died later. So anyways, man, I'm gonna leave it there. Shalom, Yabashim Shabrakatha. I'm gonna link the 2 videos, this one here, and the one about cancers from Dr. John Campbell. So yeah, Yabashim Shabrakatha, and once more, double honest agreements on apostles. Shalom.